This you?
Was poppin', was poppin', was poppin'. Welcome, Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And welcome to the live show. First and foremost, as y'all coming in or watching this replay, do us a favor. Please instantly hit like so the algorithm could like us, all right? If you feel like sharing this with somebody, cool. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please and thank you. I appreciate you. Now, episode 176, I believe we are up to, dropped today. Okay. So, is it too early to monetize on social media? That's what we talked about, plus a plethora of things. Don't ask me to spell that, but plethora, all right? So go check that out. Audio, video drops on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. And then, of course, shout out to all our Patreon users, family members, squad. We appreciate y'all. And if you're not part of that, patreon.com/Nicky and Moose, or just look us up over there. Moose, how we feeling?
I am feeling good, man. Thank you for asking. Excited for yet another live dialogue here. So things are good, man. Things are good out this way.
I like that. I like that for you. I am highly addicted to a damn Spanish soap opera on Netflix.
Are they speaking in Spanish?
Yes.
Or is it the Oh, it is.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Now I'm a whole Colombian, and now I'm a whole
I love
Colombian. It's horrible.
I love it. What a time. What a time.
Has
Hilarious.
60 episodes. Here's random funny note, right? So, all right. I don't know if this was on purpose or if this is like God telling me stop, right? So this particular one, I think it's called Snitch Cartel. Of course, shoot 'em up, bang, bang. Great, right? So this one has 60 episodes. A lot. It's crazy, right? And I think I was up to like 9. And I went and on Sunday and went to get my hair done. And when I was there and I opened up Netflix, it was gone. It wasn't even in my recently watched. I looked it up. It was like blank. I was flipping. Mind you, probably like a couple hours ago, I was like, oh, this is so bad. Why am I watching this? I don't need to be watching this. This is so bad. This is like, I'm already over the characters. I think I'm in episode 30 something now. But I realize that I don't know if this is not all, but maybe selective situations. Only at home, the series works. If I go anywhere else, it doesn't work. It doesn't pop up. But when I'm at home, I can see the whole thing. I don't know why. It's weird. Right. Yeah. I'm like, are we location based? Only my house for me to watch this horrible Spanish soap opera?
And it's not like you're going out of state.
No, I'm like, it's like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
It's
that's
weird.
What I mean. No, that's strange. Interesting.
Very weird.
Very interesting.
Very weird. Anyways, shout out to everybody who's watching. Moose, just start us off because I think I have a lot to say today.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one, man. And I mean, as I was kind of running through the write-up for this, I was like, not for nothing, the conversation today, and for those of you who are tapping in, man, shout out to everyone who's plugged in. Please let us know where you're at in the comments, like where you're checking in from. Always good to know where that's at. And I got to tell you, regardless of where you are on your journey of building a brand, whether you just started, whether you're a vet in the space, whether you're somewhat, rising through the ranks, one of the areas that's going to be very easy for you to drift out of your authentic self is going to be whenever you have to promote or begin selling something. It is so easy. It is so easy to find yourself starting to do some things that may be slightly out of what you would normally do, because you know that for a variety of different reasons, you need to push, right? For one, you need people's attention. For two, you need people's buy-in, and you have to be a little bit more persuasive than usual. Now, if you haven't had a couple of runs with this, it can be difficult to maintain your authenticity when it's time to do that. So Nick's came up with the topic for tonight. How do we maintain our authenticity when we are looking to do some social media marketing and fighting also with the algorithm? Because obviously the algorithm is not into things like flyers as it once was, or videos that go straight into promo. All right. So that's a whole different vibe now on the platform. So yeah, Nick, kick us off, man. Let us, I'm curious to know what you got on this today.
So, I was watching a, I love Stephen Bartlett. So Stephen Bartlett was talking about burnout, right? And how he goes, if y'all haven't seen the Diary of CEO vlogs, I highly suggest you do that, because it's really dope to see how he has a lesson, and then like you see his whole day as you are getting each tip. That's a whole nother topic for another time, but it's really good. But he was talking about burnout, and the instant thought, I wasn't really paying attention to the tips. I was instantly thinking about what causes burnout. And one of the biggest things is when we are in the battle of being our true selves versus the algorithm, right? Where we are jumping on these social media platforms, and numbers could really take a toll on us. And so it makes us look at, do I have to switch things up? This is what I love to talk about. This is what I love to do. This is the kind of style that I love to create. Do I have to switch certain things up in order to please the algorithm? Or do I stay true to self and let time fix this, right? And it comes up from a transparent place of the podcast, right? Where you can go on the channel and you can see for yourselves that the numbers have been low, and it's more of a, okay, this is probably some of the best conversations. And in the chat, if you've heard the podcast, let us know what you think about, the conversations lately. But to us, this has been some of the best conversations that we've had, going back and forth, and not necessarily performing from a trend side, and as far as what we should talk about, right? But with a shift, it seems as if it's not the algorithm. We're not on the graces of the algorithm. So it causes, of course, some thoughts of like, yo, especially for me, we've built this and have successful numbers for so long. This is a time where it's making a dip once you stood strong on, you really like this format. You really like having the conversations. The time frame is longer, but you don't even feel it, where before you felt when it was about an hour, like it was almost rushed to a certain extent. And so I wanted to have this conversation of how do we go with authentic? Do we go with the algorithm? When do we do it? Or and what is the pros and cons of each one? You feel me? Because I know getting in this whole social media game, it's a game. So you got to kind of have to play it. But Jesus, it is so darn exhausting. It makes you question life. And so I just based off the podcast and just clearly journeys from growing other people's stuff, growing our own stuff, things like that. I just wanted to talk about that battle that probably people
Yeah.
feel kind of the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, man, because I think just platforms in general right now are going through a shift. And we talked about this a little bit on the last episode where we started to say the rise of the new generation, they're just into different things. That era of COVID, and again, I hate to bring it back here, but COVID changed people, changed the way we see the world, and changed the way people use social media. For a long time, it was strictly social, but it started to become a lot more business for a lot more people online because they saw, like, man, I have to do something different because I am leaving, say, my future in somebody else's hands, and that's not necessarily the most productive thing. So I know that that's created a lot of changing dynamics in the world. And as a result, that's why I feel that people are responding differently to the content. I don't think that the content is any worse, for sure, right? Because to your point, the conversations are becoming easier to have. Time goes by faster. There's a lot of indicators that let you know, okay, I really am getting closer to my authentic self in some of these dialogues. But what to do when the numbers don't showcase it, which brings up a great point when we talked about, I think it was 2 episodes ago, and his name slips my mind. Shoot, you know who I'm talking about?
No.
The dude with the big white beard. Oh my God, I forgot. Like legend in the music game.
Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin, where he talked about, like, at what point do you create for the audience? Because when that starts to happen with your content, immediately you're thinking, okay, am I not serving my audience? Or at least that's one of the ideas or thoughts that come to my head. Am I not serving the audience some things that they like to receive or are enjoying? And so you go back into that battle of, okay, is it audience or is it authentic self, right? Like, who do I want to serve? Because, not to add more fuel to the fire here, but what do you do if what the audience is expecting from you is no longer who you want to be or who you want to show?
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's like, we see people who become known for one thing, especially characters on big screen movies or whatnot. People start to associate this person with that thing. I always think of the Dos Equis guy, where they said, like, his movie career or his acting career pretty much got destroyed because he became so synonymous with that commercial that he couldn't do anything else. People just only saw him as that.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, it's like he became so synonymous with that commercial that it was difficult for him to land other gigs or whatnot, or at least be successful in it. And so you got to ask that question, like, man, what happens if what the audience is asking of me is no longer who I want to be? So I think that adds another perspective into it as well, right? Because, we have a lot of changing dynamics, even from a personal side, right? Like, from a family standpoint, from a career standpoint, there's a lot of things at play that make you think about, all right, do I want to continue to put this much content out? Do I want to show some of these things into it? So yeah, I'm not necessarily answering your questions just yet, but I am adding more questions into the pot, because I think when you start talking about an audience's response or an algorithm's, feedback of the content that you're putting out, there are so many other elements that play into it that we have to peel the layers all the way back to really dissect this thing in a way that makes sense.
Yeah. And in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, in the comments, let me know the game that you play. Are you in the whole authenticity kind of vibe? I'm truly authentic, that's what I am. Or do you play the algorithm game, or are you both, right? I think it also stems from when you play the algorithm, you are actually a character, right? And let me break this down, because recently is coming back up, but I'm realizing how people are in real life and what people are online majority of the time is two different things now. And it's kind of sad at a certain point, right? Because when you get to know certain people offline and then you see them perform, it's like, damn, do you have to do that? Like, do you really have to? And granted, I think because of the success that you may see from performing by acting as this character, you are almost okay doing this on a regular. You're okay sleeping at night like, you know what? Tomorrow, I'll just go about this again. And I'm sorry for my dog in the background. But I'm going to go about this again. And we keep this moving because it works. And this is my means of making money. This is my means of brand awareness. This is my and you know what? I am okay. For me, I can't do that. It stresses me out to even think of I have to perform, I have to do this to keep these numbers up or to get a specific type of number. So my strategy has been, can we get the consistent numbers? You feel me? Like authenticity, if you play it right, will create consistency with moments of viral. Character could probably give you a bit more of viral moments, but when they're not there, those numbers are bad. Like it's not even consistent. It's just bad. And then you get your moment, then you feel like this is all worth it. And then you get really low numbers compared to what it's supposed to be. And then you're always chasing. Like, yo, I gotta do this again. I got this is not working or whatever, right? So I think it just goes with, do you want to play a character? And how long can you play this character? Or how can you how can you be authentic that is at least mid to high with the algorithm? Now, some things that we do that is maybe true, authentic to ourselves is definitely not going to hit. Like there's just some things we know that ain't gonna do it. And we have to be okay with that. But if we are on social media, we do have to be very aware of, okay, I'm not going to do all this dumb stuff. I'm not going to perform. But I can do this as my true self. And I know it's going to help me get some numbers. But play true to self first to then see what works. That's how I see it. I don't know what's wrong with my dog. My dog's going crazy. He's wild.
Hey, how do you define the algorithm just through your own words? Like what is the algorithm in your mind? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean,
if there is even a definition of it, yeah.
A bunch of computers determine different math equations to say, hey, this works, this doesn't. That's it.
Yeah,
it may hit, it may not. The way that it's computed that moment, they may be looking at specific things. The other one, it just, let's do a random lottery pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that just goes to show that even in performing for an algorithm, you're constantly working against a moving target. You know, like that's the part about that people need to take into consideration when they say, all right, you know what? I'm willing to almost succeed at any cost. Because I do think early on, there are some personalities that are just they're addictive by nature. They hang on to things come hell or high water. They will succeed want to succeed at any cost, and they're willing to do anything. And shout out to those people. You know, I have a lot of rules and things in my own world that don't always allow me to do that. And I think in a lot of ways it's protected me, but again, for those people that it's worked for, great for them. But what happens is you can slowly find yourself getting almost drifting into some extreme measures to perform for the algorithm. I really think to a large extent, that's how a lot of these prank videos started making their way onto the scene, right? Like people go into the absolute extreme. Like one of the content creators that I really like, and it's funny, I think his name is, shoot, I gotta look him up. He was on Toby's Super Bowl team, but he does these comedy skits that go to like the absolute extreme. But he makes them so engaging in a sense, but it shows you the extent of sometimes what you have to do or what you have to keep consistent if you choose becoming a character or chasing that algorithm concept to help your content grow or to engage your viewership or to even retain your viewership to some extent as well, right? So it's like when I look at just some of those metrics and I'm like, or what it takes to be successful in that world, you got to get to a point where just be honest with yourself and say like, yo, is that really me? Like one of the things I've always not necessarily struggled with, but just I knew from the very beginning, lifestyle marketing is not going to be one of the tools that I utilize to help myself grow online. I'm not interested in it. It makes no sense to me. And I don't know how long that's going to be an attractive thing. And so we just had this conversation yesterday, actually, where I was talking with someone and I was telling him, I said, I understand why lifestyle marketing is utilized, right? Because you're helping people see the absolute top 1 to 3% of what happens when you achieve maximum level success. But I do think that people are getting tired of that. Like they're automatically associating that image with a certain caliber of person or what you have to do to become that. And people are not really interested in that. Like they're really starting to gain a different perspective of what success and what authenticity means to them. So they're not interested in some of that surface level marketing in a sense. So there's a lot of changes that I'm seeing. Now, of course, it's not always the easiest to predict what is going to be the next thing that rises the tide or really helps to become sustainable. But I have to be more on that authenticity piece. I think the last ones standing are the ones that are going to get the numbers back, or they're going to really gain the most retention off of what they've been doing, because they're going to see like, yo, you've been the same person all throughout. Now, yeah, you grew and became better in a lot of ways, but from a character standpoint, from who and how you show up, that's the consistent piece. So there's a lot to credit for that.
That makes sense. Shout out to Beverly. She said, like, I don't even post often as I should. I got bored doing it, lost motivation. I would love to know why. Because it's taxing to do something every single day that you are not necessarily passionate about. Like you may be passionate about the brand, but you may not be passionate about creating content, posting it, coming up with the captions, staying up to tune with the analytics and trying to adjust. That may not be your thing. Majority of people, it's not that. It's not even my thing. I just research a lot, but that's not necessarily my thing to do that routine. I'm not a routine person. So I have to figure out ways to still stay on top of things, right? So I just switch up certain type of content that I feel like doing, right? Right now I'm in this phase of like running up to my mic, saying one thing and leaving. Like that's my thing now, right? So I'm going to do a few of those until I'm bored, and then I'll come up with something else, right? And that's one thing that I can appreciate with, let's say, social media, where you can switch things up. Now, at the same time, that could kind of be a problem. I was following this creator. Shout out to Lonnie. Lonnie used to create kind of like these skits of like the Lord making the earth, right? So he was like, I'm going to create swordfish, like, and they would have that whole dialogue, right? And then he went ghost, and now he's doing all this different types of other content, which is amazing. But I'm like, oh man, I missed the other ones. And I remember having a conversation with him. He was like, yo, I want to do other stuff. Like, I don't want to always do that. I want to do other stuff. And he stood true to what he wanted to do and did other things, which allowed him to be consistent. Some of us may not be consistent because we're not in our authentic self. We're not doing the things that we want to do and what we feel like we can do all the time. And so now we're forced on social media. Now we're forced to almost play this algorithm game because this is not really what I want to create anyways. These are not the people I really want to talk to anyways, because I always feel like I have to talk to everybody or I won't even get seen. Recently, I'm okay with, you know, even my Instagram has taken a hit multiple times. And I'm like, I'm okay with the people who still see it. Because I know the algorithm doesn't show everybody because some not new person, but a person who's been around, been like, damn, I haven't seen your videos in a minute. Okay, we're back now. So I know this game is forever going to do that. We've gone over 2 weeks in a row, just the cycle of followers. And, you know, some may have already grown out of some of the content that I've created. That's cool, right? I continuously have to figure out what is going to keep me being myself. And I'm struggling with that a little bit. Not struggling, but really trying to find my own identity on my YouTube channel. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm doing the live video part, which we're chopping up into different smaller clips, and that's cool. That's cool. But now when we're getting into just the YouTube only kind of videos, I'm like, what am I going to create? Because I'm not a tech reviewer, but I like going over certain things. But I don't want to be known as the tech person. I don't want to just stay in the social media situation. The AI is going up and down. So it's really figuring out the stories and the conversation that I want to say. And it could be draining. It could definitely be draining.
Yeah. No, and I've definitely had some of those seasons too, where you just feel that you have nothing to say. And I think I've talked about that briefly on, you know, some of the episodes or lives where you just get a season where you're in listening mode. You don't have an opinion about everything that you see, or you don't have a response to what's happening. You're just, you know, becoming okay with what's going on. Like I even think to a large extent, I'm in it now. I don't have much to comment on the people per se, like what they did, why they did it. I just see and feel the world so differently now that I don't want to comment on the people. I want to talk about the lessons that can be extracted from a situation. And you get to a point where you're like, how much can I possibly talk about the same thing? You know, and I think that's the battle of growth in the content space, or the battle of finding more content to extract and even integrate into your own brand or business. That's a battle, you know, especially as you start to season into a product. Now, one of the things that has helped me a little bit with that is innovating something new, right? Whether it's a new product, whether it's a new service, whether it's a new feature or something that extends beyond what you currently have. Because, yeah, you want to always rely on your legacy model or the things that you have built and you're known for, and that is great. But at some point, when that boredom strikes, you have to find a way to get some inspiration to continue to do more, or just give you new perspectives. So that's definitely another one of those challenges, you know, similar to what you're describing, is like, you know, you start to think about, who do I want to be? Then there are other times where you just like, you have less to say. And so satisfying the metrics of consistency can make that difficult because, or maybe it's a side effect of burnout to some extent, right? Because, we started this talking about Diary of CEO and his mention of burnout, and maybe not having much to say could be that. But I do find that can be a bit taxing. And that's why I know coming back into just posting on social media as of 2.5 years ago, the one thing that I said to myself was, I'm not going to call myself a content creator because I tried that once and I failed miserably. So I'm not a content creator.
Okay.
I want to use social media on my own terms. I hate that I will be very selfish in the process because I will always prioritize my well-being ahead of any sort of metric, consistency definition, or anything of that nature, because that has been historically what's led to my inconsistency or to the things that we all try to avoid because they look to be, not so good, quote unquote. So it's sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to kind of like create your own rules for something and say, hey, I know that this might be the standard, but I'm going to create my own standard until you break through some of those small hurdles or whatnot and get some momentum going for yourself. So I think that we almost have to or give ourselves permission to do that at some extent as well, so that you don't fall into some of those ruts where you're like, because the worst part to end up is you fall into one of those ruts or those challenges, and then you question the entire existence of what you've created. It's like, yo, should I really be doing this?
Yes.
Is this even worth it? Is this even making a difference? And again, I think as anyone would be honest with themselves enough to admit, we all reach points in our journeys where even if for a little bit, whether you know it consciously or subconsciously, your mind starts to wander like, is this even making a difference? Is this even worthwhile? You got to be careful what thoughts you entertain when you're in that space.
What, staying there for a bit, like, what helps you get out of that overthinking, right? Where it's like, because that's literally reminds me of that whole, the two guys trying to go for the diamonds and one just like, forget it. Like, I'm questioning, is this worth it? You know what? It's not. I'm out. The other one keeps going. Like, what stops you from that overthinking?
I'll be honest. I go back and I watch some of my old content. Like, I'll go back and review older content and just see the especially times where I am just flowing in a consistent space. And what I often find is that the things that I'm doubting in that moment, I see what the example of how to do it or do the opposite of by watching older pieces of content. Because for someone like myself, I have been very particular about what I choose to post on my page. I have been very particular about what type of content I post. Like, there's so many things that I'm so particular about. I'm not just someone who posts for the sake of posting or for the sake of consistency. So everything that is on my feed, I intentionally created it with a purpose, a certain thought process. So when I go back and I start to watch for it, usually whatever I'm questioning, doubting, or overthinking in the moment, I start to see how to get over it because I've already done it in the past. And so that's just been my way, right? I go back and look at my old body of work where I know if I posted it, then clearly I believed in the fact of what I said, or I was not doing those things that I'm worried about currently. So it helps to go back and see that, at least for me.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Because, like, for me, and I don't want to give the typical, like, remember your purpose and blah, 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 right? I don't want to give that. My thing is literally just remembering that image of the person who almost got the diamond, right? So every single time that I feel like, yo, what is happening? Like, is this worth it? I felt that way about Instagram Live, and it's okay to like fall back a little bit and kind of just like reassess, right? For me, that's been like the lives. Like I'm really assessing as far as is Instagram lives, is there any real point? If there is, where we're looking at other social media platforms that continuously pushes out the lives, such as TikTok, I do believe YouTube does it for a certain extent, especially now with lives going into YouTube Shorts if you do it in a vertical. Of course, the rise of Twitch and Kick and things like that, where the longer you're on, the more you're getting pushed. Where in Instagram, the longer you are, the lower your numbers go. It doesn't continuously push things out unless you're strategic as far as, okay, at a certain point, I'm bringing new people in. At a certain point, I'm going to add a Q&A. At a certain point, like, you have to be strategic with always getting certain notifications out. And so, there's nothing wrong with really sitting down and being like, does this really make sense? Or am I that person in that picture that's almost there and really feels like they're about to quit? And so that what helps me as far as when I get to that overthinking and that whole nine, where it's like, nah, it normally dips before it goes crazy. So like, just stand fast. You're like right there, and you don't even know what that there is, but you're like right there. And it takes a lot of, for me, meditation, prayer, because I'm like, this is taxing sometimes. This is very taxing, because you're allowing something that you can't necessarily talk to or control to quote unquote grade you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it is where, if we think about school, I can at least talk to the teachers. They could at least help me. They could guide me. Yo, you messing up on this. Like, either stay back and do a little extra work, or just read this a little bit more. There's a bit of guidance with the grade. You get no guidance. You only get certain notifications to pay when you have 95% better than all the rest of your post. You should boost this one up. This one's working. Well, can you tell me when it's not working? Can you give me that same kind of notification? Yo, this is actually 40% down. Here is what you should do. But you only tell me what I should do when it is in the highest numbers. And that's normally to give you some type of money.
Mark?
I don't want to.
Mark? Are you listening, Mark? Some good insight right there.
You saw that
Mark.
dumb post he did?
I saw with the Apple Vision
If
Pro
y'all
right
didn't see it, side note, if y'all didn't see it, he did a video on some, I tried the Vision Pro, and now that I've tried it, I could honestly say that the Quest is a better, shut up. What are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to say? I tried the Vision Pro, and you're right, we're off the mark. We are nowhere near what the Vision Pro could do. What?
Right. Yeah. No, I literally just saw it a couple minutes before I got on the live, and he had me for a second. I was like, oh shoot, he's about to give credit to Apple, and then he just went ham. They're like this, but this is why we're better, and we're better, and we're better, and we're better. So, but yeah, no, that's a great idea, though. I think, if the platforms, and this is reminders to the creators, the brands, the business people who are utilizing social media, and shout out to you, Nix, for always highlighting that this is a tool. This is a tool that you use. You don't want to attach your identity to it. It doesn't need to become what makes you valuable. Like it has nothing to do with that. And if you constantly remind yourself of those things, you don't end up in those situations. Now, do we know those things on A usual day, yeah. But like I've talked about, the drift is the most dangerous place, right? Because just like when you're out floating in the water and you start drifting away from your safe spot or wherever it is that you want to be, you typically don't know that it's happening until you've gotten too far, right? And that's the same thing that ends up happening in a creative space because there are no rules. There are no boundaries. There are some best practices that we know that this typically works or can work and usually performs. But as you continue to drift or maybe try new things, whatever it is that you think about, you can find yourself in some pretty bad places because it's become more than it's supposed to be, as a result of that. So yeah, this is it's powerful, man. It's unfortunate that it happens to everyone, because then on the flip side of it, you hear these astronomical numbers. Like, of course, I'm thinking about, from at least from a podcast standpoint, I'm thinking about everyone's name is just slipping me today, so y'all got to forgive me on names. I don't know what happened to my memory, but the dude who's had Joe Rogan,
Yes.
a gazillion downloads a month, and I'm just like, how have you been doing this for 20 years? Probably one of the first podcasts ever invented. Before there were even podcasts, there was Joe Rogan, and you look at those numbers and you think about, well, how is this person continuing to capture market share? And when you watch some of the content, it is for a very specific type of person. So I don't know if you've ever, maybe even on your moments of study, started to go down the path or the lane of looking at other people and seeing what's working for them and question, like, how is it that they're growing? I don't know if that's ever a part of your process and maybe what you discover, because there could be some things to learn from. Maybe there's some times where you're just like, you know what, this is not even research and learning anymore. This is becoming more of a comparison thing. So let me just dip out altogether.
Yeah, I'm cautious about those types of research, even though the majority of the time I'm looking at it from a standpoint of like, okay, how did this become successful? These are all the things. And we just happen to do the same type of things, or I'm attempting to do the same type of things. So comparison is real. It's always going to happen. It's what you do afterwards is what really determines things. What was crazy, and like I said, I'm big on meditation, but the Vision Pro, and follow me with this because it goes along with social media and branding. So the Vision Pro has this mindfulness situation, right? Where it's like, I don't know, like feathers or something of a huge ball. And then after a few, it like separates. And then as you breathe, it goes in and out. It's really dope, right? However, I don't know if this was a sign or whatever, but I'm looking through it and everything is like yellow. Follow me with this. Everything's yellow. All the feathers or leaves are yellow. Down there's one that stood out that was blue, right? One that stood out that was blue. After a while, it turned yellow, and instantly the message that popped out to me was, when you stand out, and you continuously in an environment that is doing something the same, that you instantly become them. And you instantly become that color, that brand, that thing. And so what made you so special, that made you stand out, and people would see you, you didn't think people were seeing you. So you actually turned into that same color, that same brand, that same content style, that same launch situation. And so now I can't even pick you out. I don't even know where you are, because you changed into exactly what everybody else is. When you first stand out and you first come through as your authentic self, because you don't know no better. That goes back to some of the conversation in our podcast of that childlike situation. You don't know. You're coming through, just, I'm here. What's up? Like, let me figure this out. But as you're figuring this out and now you're looking at everybody, you're like, hold on, am I not supposed to wear it? Hold on. okay, welcome to the podcast. Like now you're shifting because you're looking at your environment too much, and instead of picking out certain things that you like, you become a carbon copy. That's what I got out of meditation, that I felt that went along with this, because a lot of us really stand out. A lot of us, and some people are scared to stand out and get the attention, to then they transform into what everything else has happened, like what's happening with everybody else, how everybody else looks, because they don't want that attention when you were supposed to have that attention. So it was a really dope experience for some reason, out of the 10 minutes of the same thing that I do every single day. But that one, it blew my mind today.
I love that. No, that's a great connection too. It's like you strive to become something, and then it shifts and it changes. It's no longer what you think it is. It's like that message on the mirrors, right? In the car. It's like, what objects appear smaller than what they are, something like that. It's like an opposite to some extent. So yeah, no, that's powerful. What do you think people should do? Like, just to close off in some action steps with the lay of the land and how things are right now. Obviously, I think it's clear and evident as day, more than ever, that if there's even a remote chance that you're considering being anything else other than your authentic self, then you need to consider your strategy. All right, like that is the best way for both your own personal well-being as well as the well-being of, the brand or the business that you're trying to grow online. But obviously, things are not where most people would like them. There are some challenging times, even financially, for a lot of businesses as they navigate, some pretty tough waters right now too. So what do you suggest? What would you say are some action steps, like in the meantime, as they weather the storm and try and get through this, I don't know, maybe call it a slow season or whatever it is that's going on right now?
I would say, one, remember that you're not alone in your slow season, because it can feel very lonely. Like, I'm the only one. I'm seeing all these different people with high numbers, getting the sales, getting the high newsletters and everything like that. But we follow what we like, and sometimes what we strive to be. It's very rare, unless we know the person and things like that, that we will find somebody on social media that has like 100 followers and be like, yes, that's for me. I'm gonna follow that. I just saw them on the Explore page. I'm gonna follow that. They have one post. I got it, right? It's very, very rare. Not saying it doesn't happen, but so we don't know other people we don't know other people on our timeline who are going through the same thing we're going through. So we assume that it's only happening to us. The algorithm's only messing with us. We're the ones that are shadow banned or whatever it is. It's not necessarily the case. So we got to remember, we're not the only ones going through these slow seasons. Everybody has highs and lows with it. 2, it is writing down what you are going to stay true as. Right? When we're getting to our authentic self, what is the values? What does your page like really represent, and following that through? Even if you have to test different ways of showing that, you still like, yo, this is where I stand. Whether it's from a political view, whether it is from a ethnicity view, whether it is just a belief, whatever it is, right? Staying true to what that is, and not swaying left or right. It's like, it's a non-negotiable, right? Regardless if it does numbers or not. So that's one thing. Next thing is in that same in that same vein, how do I take what I believe, what I stand for, this is who I am, and be open to testing, being open to experiment? Because the people who are really thriving in social media, thriving in this whole marketing situation, are people who are not afraid to experiment. I'm not bound to just one way of things. I'm not going to only do quotes. I'm not only going to do 30-second videos. I'm going to try to talk about the Usher thing while it was talking about, but still making it about some type of content branding situation. I'm okay with showcasing what's behind the scenes things, because that's still who I am, but I'm still letting people in some way, shape, or form. I'm okay with going and trying different platforms as long as I can stay true to my identity. So being forever open to experiment and seeing what honestly works in the season that you are in is what's going to, one, help you not get so bored, right? So there does need to be a place of, okay, this works, so I'm gonna continuously stay consistent with it, but let me have a fun project. Let me have a fun piece of content that I'm just trying just because I want to try, and being open to that, because it may work, it may not, but I'm not holding too much weight to it because I'm experimenting. So I could try this, I could try that, cool, whatever. I just won't do it again if it doesn't work. That's fine. I'm not emotionally attached. So I would say those three things, because it just allows like who you are, but as well as flexibility.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah, the only thing I'll add is give yourself permission to communicate the change that you're experiencing. And I think it's fair. Not that you necessarily owe it to your audience, but sometimes I think the overthinking comes in. You are still trying to satisfy a version of you that no longer exists, or that you grew out of, or have moved on to something else. And so give yourself permission to communicate that, because if you're anything like me, where you have a very linear brain and sometimes you feel like you can't do the next thing if you don't close the chapter of the last one, then sometimes simply just communicating that in your own creative way, or what feels natural to you, gives you permission to just close one chapter and open the next, turn the page, and keep going. Because if there's one thing that's evident, and I don't think both myself or Nicky feel any differently, despite of the conversation, is that your personal brand is still incredibly important for the growth of your career, or the future of your career, or whatever the case may be, the brand that you're building. You're still going to need social media. There are billions of people using these platforms, so you can't just abandon it because of a slow season or a rough patch or a tough time. You have to find ways to keep going, whether that's keeping going at your own pace, continue to go, based on your own definitions, but do something. So the one thing I will add to what Nick's mentioned is give yourself permission to communicate that change to that audience, because even in doing that, you're showcasing authenticity, you're showcasing relatability, and showing that, hey, we're human. We're all going to have a growing interest or just changes in our life that happen naturally based on the different roles and responsibilities that we have to take on as humans, as adults, right? And life-work balance, to some extent, is all about how you make sense of those two things. How do you continue to keep things in motion as your roles and responsibilities change throughout various seasons of your life? All right, so that's one thing for me that I think is super important to really get a grip on, to help people navigate that rough season.
Wes, what do you want me to say after that? I don't know. I can't say nothing after that. That was great. You see, whenever what I realize, whenever Moose goes longer than like 2 minutes, you don't follow that. He's there. He's there with a purpose. He's there with, like, I'm closing it out. If you want to say something cool, but I said what I said, if you come back and you ask me something afterwards, I don't have nothing afterwards because I said something heavy. That was fire. That was fire.
That was it. That was it.
I don't got nothing else. We good. I do have some. I do have something else. We are doing a special live at the end of the month. So every month we do a live for our Patreon. So the 27th, not next week, the 27th, we will not be on YouTube. We will be on Patreon. Okay. So if you're not on Patreon, let me put that link. It's $4 a month, 13 cents a day. You know, we got Creator App. They get all the stuff. If you really support the podcast, go join the Patreon. We love you. We appreciate that. But I wanted to announce that so you don't be like, oh my God, Nicky and Moose, why the live is not happening? That's because we're going to be on Patreon. Okay, we gotta show up for them. We gotta appreciate them like they appreciate us. So, letting you know, giving you heads up. 27th, not next Tuesday. Well, actually, next Tuesday we're not going live either. Sorry. Hold on. I'll be in San Diego. I'm speaking.
Hey.
Sorry, people. I'm sorry. So next week we're not going to be live. The following week we're going to be in Patreon. So the next time you see this live is going to be in March. Wow. Hello.
Wow.
Right. I'm like, hello, March. All right. I know I'm going to get a text from my mom. Be like, wait, how did I get in Patreon?
What happened?
I already know. Shout out to Isaiah for the super chat. Come on. And if we added value to you, please hit the super chat, super thanks, or Patreon. Either way, we appreciate all of it. Most, thank you for this conversation.
Likewise, yeah. Thank you for bringing it up. Absolutely.
It was you've done great in these conversations. And these so let me give Moose flowers real quick. Let me do this real quick. Let me get here. So, Moose is a planner. And nothing about this podcast is really planned. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's really just conversations that we just come up on the fly or that day. There's not a schedule as many people think. There's not like, all right, these podcast episodes are going to be boom, 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 and these lives are going to be boom, 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 boom. It's like, how are you feeling today? What do you think about this episode or this topic? Okay, let's run it. And he literally will think of things on the fly when before that was not necessarily his thing. And now he can't say that because he does too good of a job of doing that. Okay? Sometimes it's better than me. I'd be like, all right, I ain't got to say nothing else after that. I mean, it's good. So I wanted to give Moose's flowers because the growth is there. Because when I tell you, he's not, okay, give me the questions. I don't even tell him the question of the week. And he's like, That's why he'll always try to mix it. Like, but what if we do it like this?
Right. I gotta buy myself some time to think.
Yes. So if you ever see him, what if we? He's thinking, but it's still quick. It's not like, yeah. Let me get back to you with that. Let me get back to you. The last time we ever said, let me get back to you was when I had COVID and I had brain fog and I was stupid.
Stupid.
I was stupid. Like, oh, wait, what did you say? Say that one more time. Say that differently. I made him say something like 3 times. Like, say that. And I was like, yo, I'm dumb. And I did. If anybody remembers that time, I apologize. The podcast probably really sucked. The lives probably really sucked because I was dumb. Shout out to everybody who got cured from brain fog because he gave me something. I bought like 4 other things. I was on some brain pills and juices and all that. It was horrible. It was bad. I was stupid.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. I remember that. I was stupid. No, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you. No,
Of
it means a lot.
course.
I definitely care about delivering quality content, and it's nice to mix it up outside of my normal rhyme and rhythm of what makes sense in my brain. I mean, I'm still a planner today, if given the opportunity, I'm going to plan. I'm talking about a couple, maybe 5, 6 pages worth of planning. But hey, sometimes you're not afforded that luxury and you got a little less time to work, and so be it. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that was it. We appreciate you. And shout out to Janita. We see that super chat. Uh, that's it, people. We love you. We appreciate you. If you're going to be in San Diego for Social Media Marketing World, or if you live in the West Coast, go to San Diego. I'll be there next week. I'll be speaking Social Media Marketing World. Go to social media examiner.com. Find out all that great stuff. Shout out to Doc, who's been killing it in the chat. Janita, Aaron, of course, Isaiah. Who else? I don't even know how to say that, but I'm just going to put it up on the screen because I'm not going to mess your name up. Beverly, Dalton. Come on, Dalton. Shout out to Dalton. We miss you. Shout out to Dalton. We miss you. And that's it. We love you guys. You already know what we're going to say.
Peace, y'all.